This past weekend we asked you on Facebook to send us some of your most burning questions so we can answer them in a little video that we're going to shoot today. One very important question that came popping up is how do I personalize the profiles? Because there's a very common misconception out there among Kemper users that for every minute change you intend to make about your sound, you actually have to go and make a new profile. You have to go through the rigorous process of making a good sounding profile, which I'm going to tell you now is completely unnecessary. There are a bunch of excellent profiles out there that are obviously made within a certain listening environment and with a certain guitar, and they may not translate exactly to your situation. And that's what Kemper has provided you with, an array of possibilities to go ahead and afterwards tweak that profile to truly match what you got going on here. I'm just show you the most important things that you can use to personalize your sound. So I'm fairly sure this sound was not made with a telly, because if I play this telly through this Marshall profile from Michael Britt, that's how it sounds stock. The gain is backed off to 10 already. I'm gonna go ahead and take it up a little bit because this guitar has quite low output, and I would also like to add a little bit of sheen on top, so I'm going to use the presence control for that, just a little bit. Little changes can go a long way here, and especially on the neck pickup. Find a little bit too bass heavy, so I'm going to reduce that a bit too. So there you have your standard 3-band EQ, bass, middle, and treble, plus the 4th higher presence band that takes care of some of the true high-end presence frequencies. And you have your gain knob. Now these are some parameters that you would find on most amps, but they behave slightly differently than they would on most amps, because there's a lot of vintage amps out there where you kind of start tweaking the middle control and it doesn't really do anything. You can't really hear it, or it has a weird taper and all of the action of the poti actually takes place at one of the two extremes. Now, when you tweak the Kemper, no matter what profile you're on, no matter what amp you've profiled, these knobs all behave in a very predictable and therefore controllable way. So in some way this is actually superior to the EQ on the original amps that are profiled in here. Then if you actually want to go in a little further into the amp's architecture to change some things that you can't really get to with these 4-5 knobs if you count the gain pot, you can go into the amplifier menu up here, just hold it down, and there you have a whole set of other parameters you can use to further customize the profile. The definition parameter being one of the most important ones. It kind of takes care of how much bass frequencies are let into the preamp distortion stage, and can therefore really either clear up your sound or kind of give it some additional dirt, some. Now this is kind of a medium value. If I take it back all the way, you instantly hear it get more bass heavy, more bass is let into the distortion stage, and it gets muddy in a way, but also warms up the sound a bit. So it just sounds more vintagey. Now if you take it up all the way, we take all of the bass out of, or a lot of the bass out of the preamp stage. And we get quite the opposite. Let me put it back somewhere to the middle. I'm going to go a little below the stock setting to get a little more girth out of it. I think that works real nice. Now you got some more things you can call up here. You have the pick control that actually targets a certain frequency range where you can really hear the pick striking the string. So if you need more definition in your tone, you can also kind of use that to bring out more of the attack, make it a bit more aggressive. The power sagging takes care of that. The amp kind of giving a bit way when you really dig in. If you really dig into a crank tube amp, it kind of sags down for a moment and then recovers. And how much it does that can be controlled with this parameter. And then, last but not least, you got the compressor knob, which is kind of a very unique thing. At least I've never found this parameter on any other pedal. It takes care of your cleanup volume. So I mean, a lot of players, a lot of purist players like to just, you know, get the amp cooking and then just dial back your guitar volume pot for clean sounds. If you do that on some amps, the volume drops quite low, so your sound does clean up, but it's not really usable anymore because it became way quiet. Now, with the Kemper, you can use this compressor parameter. You can turn it up. Let's see if I can demonstrate that right here. That's quite gainy. Now I dial it back. It cleaned up, but it's ridiculously quiet. So I'm gonna grab this control. Now we have our full tilt sound. And we have a way more usable. Now you can go even further on this. I've only brought it up to 4.1. You can go all the way and even bring that dialed back sound up more if you want to. I'm gonna bring it back to where it was originally set. And then there's even the second page of more in-depth parameters. You can control the tube bias, the tube shape, the clarity. These are all parameters that if you actually were to tune them on a real amp, you'd have to open it up and start switching out parts. And you can do it all right here and with any profile. So you see there's a wide array of possibilities that you can use to tweak any given profile you either bought or downloaded for free out of the vast majority of profiles that's out there for you, available to you, and you can customize them to your guitar, to your listening situation, to, you know, do whatever. No need to go about and make new profiles all the time, especially since some of us are simply not really fortunate to have a big studio space, to have all those mics and pre's to make excellent sounding profiles. There's guys out there doing that for you, so just, you know, grab those and customize away. Now, another question we got about this was about the newly released or newly announced, soon to be released morphing feature. How does that work? Now we've made some videos, but I'll go in and show it again. We have hooked up an expression pedal right to one of the pedal inputs on the Kemper. I have it down here on the floor, and you can see on the Kemper, just below the name of the profile, you can see this little progress bar. And now as I switch from the heel to the toe position on my expression pedal, you can kind of see the bar tracking the position of the expression pedal. Now, if I'm in the heel position, the profile stays as it is. Now if I go all the way to the toe position, and the bar indicates this right here, now I can start tweaking things, and the Kemper will automatically save the tweaks that I make in relation to that position. So if I, for example, I mean, we've dialed in a plexi sound here, so if we want to crank that, which we do, let's face it. We can do that. We will. Let's crank it some more. Let's bring it up to like 7.5. Now, immediately the Kemper will store this in relation to that position. So as I dial the expression pedal back, as I go back to my heel position, the Kemper tracks the changes I have made. You can see the LED ring around the gain control changing as I rock the expression pedal back and forth. Now for that more gained up sound, maybe I want to make some EQ changes as well. It became quite a bit thicker, so I'm going to take the bass control down just a bit. Always got to make sure you're in that toe position, otherwise it's going to affect your heel down sound. And I'm going to bring the treble up to just get a little bit of extra bite. Now these do not have to be monumental changes. You can make slight changes. And then I will go into that amplifier menu and actually bring the definition up just a bit to get some more clarity out of the tone. Now this should work nicely. Just like that, we've set up that morphing feature. Now, you want to make sure when you go and start morphing about that on page 5 of the system menu, the pedal 1 or whichever pedal you have elected to take care of the morphing for you is set to morphing, and otherwise it just won't work. That's it. One more personal note: you can morph more than just the amp parameters. You can go in, we showed this in the previous morphing video, you can go into the delay parameters. I could, for example, call this one up. I could go into my toe position and I could say, yeah, I want to dial back the delay a bit. You know, that way on our clean sound I have a quite audible delay, and now as I go to my more distorted sound, I'm dialing back on the delay to get a more dry, more usable rhythm tone. And the delay becomes barely audible. Most of these parameters can be tweaked, with a few exceptions, but most can. And the last question we got in that I personally found took a great interest in, because it applies directly to how I'm using the profiler most of the time, is: can I use analog stomp boxes with the Kemper, and is there anything that I need to watch out for? First things first, yeah, you absolutely can. What the Kemper is, it truly captures exactly what the profiled amp does, and also in terms of how it reacts to whatever you put in, whatever guitar you use, whatever you put in terms of choice of guitar, but also in terms of analog stomp boxes. And what I do a lot when I record in my apartment with considerate noise restrictions, I pretty much use the Kemper as a clean amp platform, just like I would with a clean amp, using my stomp boxes into it. And then I just hook up my board, put it in the front, and just use it like that. You do have to be aware that you cannot push a profile on the Kemper as much as you could some tube amps, because the input will start clipping at some point. But as long as you're not using your favorite Les Paul and cranking your clean boost by 20 dB, you should be fine. It does, however, work greatly with Stompboxes. I've brought one out today. I just got this one, and it's a really interesting one from Thorpe Effects, the Warthog. We'll have this guest feature today. And I'm gonna just dial up a clean sound here. Actually, let's clean this up even more to really make sure we're only hearing the pedal work. Now I've taken the delay back out of the equation, and now hear the pedal that work with it. So can the profiler handle pedals? Well, the profiler handles any given pedal just like the amp that you profiled would. So if you profile an amp that can't handle a pedal well, then it's not going to handle the pedal well. If you profile an amp that can handle the pedal well, it's going to be just fine. Just watch the output. Don't go crazy above unity as to not clip the input of the Kemper, and you should be totally fine. Yeah. I guess that's it for the questions that you guys threw our way. Let me play you out with some more of the morphing stuff, and I'll see you next time. Bye.